For your cheapest and most reliable place to buy FC24 coins, check out mmoexp.com. Link is down in the description below. Use the code WOLF at the checkout for 5% off your order. Yes then YouTube, we are back. A formation I like to call your absolute bread and butter. And I'm telling you right now, it's back and it's probably better than ever on this brand new patch. That is, of course, the 4-2-3-1. But before we get into the tactics, drop this video a like for me. That would mean the world to me. Drop a comment down below if you do have any questions, because remember, I do reply to every single comment. If the only time I ever don't reply to a comment is if it just doesn't pop through on my phone as a notification. And if you can hit that subscribe button to my channel, YouTube, that would mean the world to me. Also, Aston Villa. Are we in a title race? Are we? Can I start to dream yet as an Aston Villa fan? Who knows? But enough of the real football talk. Let's get into the custom tactics. So, balanced on the defensive style, 100% is the vibe and the way to go. I was actually experimenting a lot yesterday with pressure on heavy touch while I was using the 4-2-3-1. And I don't know whether you agree. Let me know in the comment section down below if you do agree or disagree with it. I've noticed with the pressure on heavy touch, it's really draining my stamina a lot more. I think on this new patch, EA have definitely done a bit of a soft patch in terms of if you are using a pressure custom tactic, whether it be a pressure on heavy touch or a press after possession loss, I really feel like your stamina now drains a lot more than it used to pre-patch. So that's why, even though I do think pressure on heavy touch is actually quite good, especially when it does randomly press and your opponent isn't expecting it, it is definitely good and a viable option. I would just stay away from it, YouTube, honestly. I don't think it's worth like the trade-off in terms of how much it drains your stamina to how much you win the ball back. So that's why I'm using balance. The defensive width, I have gone very, very, very narrow with the 4-2-3-1, making us very nice and compact. I've gone down to 38. Very random number, but there is a method to the madness, which I will tell you in a minute. 38 width, very narrow. The reason being, on this new patch, if any of you don't really know what this patch has done yet, it tries to force your defence out wide, whether it be your left back, your right back, your left centre back, your right centre back. It tries to make a big gap in the middle of the pitch. I think they've kind of tried to do it to combat the byline meta and the switches of play. So we kind of have to compensate with that by going quite narrow on our defensive width to make our back four in general more narrow, nice and compact, not leaving as many gaps in the middle of the pitch for our opponent to exploit. And I've noticed when I was experimenting with 38, because I went down to 35 and I found it a little bit too narrow, went up to 40 and I was like, it's a little bit too wide. When I found 38, I was just really in that good spot. You know when you're just there and it's good, like you just feel comfortable with it. So that's what I really, really, really liked about with the 38 width. So I'm going to use it and I like it. The defensive depth, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. I actually use 57 on the defensive depth with the 4-2-3-1. Now, you know me. You know that I normally use like a 60 or a 55 or a 71 on the pre-patch. I don't use that anymore. I was using 60 because on a 4-2-3-1, I feel like you can be a little bit more aggressive with your defensive depth because we do have two CDMs. I was getting caught out a little bit. I was just getting caught out in behind and stuff like that. My opponent was just getting in behind way, way, way too much for my liking. So I was just like, nah, you know what? I'm just going to use 57 depth. And all of a sudden, I'm conceding way less goals. One day, I will show you my spreadsheet and my data, and you will understand how much time and effort goes into my custom tactics. I don't just record a video and just go, there you go, use these custom tactics, because that would literally be like, I don't know what the word is, false advertisement or anything. I'll just be lying, and I'm not a liar. So one day you will see how much time and effort really does go into my custom tactics. The offense, build-up play and chance creation, you can probably guess what it's going to be on at this point. It is, of course, balanced and direct passing. The reason being, it's just what I've used for the last 2-3 years, and I think it's the best thing that you can use, YouTube. I really, really, really do. I find it so OP, so broken. I don't really know what I could use other than that. I have tried absolutely everything, and I mean absolutely everything that you can use, whether it be balanced direct passing, fast build-up direct passing. I've just used every little combination you can try. I score the most goals on my spreadsheet and my data using balanced and direct passing. The offensive width, I've gone a little bit more narrow, so I've gone to 45. The reason being, remember what I said to you on this patch, your opponent's defensive structure will naturally try and play out wide just because of the way the patch is. Their left back and their right back will drift a little bit wider. So what do? We need to target that middle of the pitch to really hurt and get into our opponent's faces. So that's why I'm using the 45 width. Very, very, very good. I like it. I like where my lamb and my ram are in that 45 width. I think they pick up really, really, really good positions there. I like it. Players in the box, you can probably guess what it's going to be. Yes, it is 7 more players that we have in the box. The more goals we will score. YouTube, very, very, very simple, very effective. That's what I use. 2 corners and 2 free kicks like so. Custom tactics done. Let's get into the playing instructions. Stay central and getting behind on the striker. You could probably guess that, YouTube, my absolute bread and butter. One thing I will say, even though I do use stay central and getting behind on my strikers on every single formation that I put out for you, because it's just what I like on my strikers, right? I think in a 4-2-3-1, it is very, very, very key to have your striker on stay central and getting behind. The reason being, we have got a left-sided cam and a right-sided cam anyway. We don't need our striker to drift wide in that 4-2-3-1. I really want my striker just to stay in that central area of the pitch. Also, with the getting behind, pretty self-explanatory. I want my striker to make runs in behind, because even if I don't play the ball into my striker as yeah, he is a he because it's Suket, as he is making runs in behind, that then leaves a lot more space for all 3 of my cams to operate in. It's actually very, very, very key. It's a really underrated point that just because you see your striker making a run in behind, it does not mean that you have to play that striker in. You can use that almost as like a dummy run. Try and think of it like real life football. I know sometimes EAFC 24 is probably the furthest thing from real life football there is, but you can use real life football tactics in terms of that, using a dummy run to then create space for your other players. That then brings us nicely onto the 3 cams actually. With this like post-patch 4-2-3-1 custom tactics, all 3 of my cams are on exactly the same thing. So they are on comeback on defence and get into the box for cross. All 3 of them. The left-sided cam, the right-sided cam, and the middle cam. I want the 4-2-3-1. I don't know whether any of you agree. I do think defending is a little bit harder on this post-patch now. I do think with the game trying to force our players out wide, there is a much bigger gap in the centre of the pitch. So I do want all of my cams to try and help back and help out in the defensive structure of it. I've conceded a lot less goals while having my cams on comeback on defence. The get into the box for cross, very self-explanatory. I want all 3 of my cams to be in the box. I do. Whether we're running down the byline with our left-sided cam, I then want my middle cam, my striker, and my right-sided cam in the box. I want that. The more players that we have in the box, the more goals we will score. Now, this is where it gets interesting. You're more attack-minded CDM, so for me, on my RTG at this moment in time, it is Michael Ballack. Get forward. Yes, get forward and cover centre. You are not going to believe it. I have one of my CDMs on get forward. I just wanted to try and score more goals and create more opportunities. I think with defending being a little bit harder on this patch at this moment in time, actually having a more attack-minded players in your team really does help, because your opponent is struggling the exact same way you are in terms of defending at this moment in time. So what do? Try and take advantage of that by having one of our CDMs on get forward and to help out in the attacking side of the game. Method to the madness, YouTube. There is method to it, trust me. Then your more defensive-minded CDM. So for me, my Yaya Toure, have that CDM on stay back while attacking and cover centre. It doesn't matter, YouTube, if your left CDM's on get forward and your right CDM's on stay back. Just as long as one of your CDMs is on get forward and cover centre, and then the other CDM, the one that is probably better in the defensive side of the game and in defensive transitions and stuff like that, have that CDM on stay back while attacking and cover centre. It just so happens that I play Ballack on the right and he's the one that's on get forward. I then play with both my left back and my right back on stay back while attacking. I don't attack with my left back or my right back at all. I don't really feel the need to, YouTube. I don't know whether any of you agree. In a 4-2-3-1, I've actually tried it quite a few times. I don't really feel like it's an advantage to have your fullbacks unbalanced in a 4-2-3-1. That's just my personal opinion. Last but not least, both my centre-backs default settings, so stay back while attacking, blah, blah, blah. And the goalkeeper comes for crosses and sweeper keeper. And that right there, my brand new updated post-patch 4-2-3-1 custom tactics video for you guys. If you did enjoy this video, please drop it a like for me. Drop a comment down below. And if you can hit that subscribe button to my channel, that would mean the world to me. Thank you for watching. Remember, YouTube, spread the love and positivity. PMA, positive mental attitude. Peace out. One love.